This set of questions covers length and structure of the paper. So first question, how should we structure the body paragraph? Should we just have one body paragraph be one rhetorical concept? That's a great way to do it. So go through and make, say, your first body paragraph examining the pathos or use of emotion within the text. Your second body paragraph, maybe you're going to look at the message, the underlying message, what's not stated but's implied within the text. Maybe your third paragraph looks at the author and who that person is and how that corresponds to the text. So you can go through and build your body paragraphs that way. It works out really well. Now, if you do a more in-depth analysis of fewer concepts, say instead of 5 concepts that you've only looked at 3, you might structure that a little bit differently. Maybe you'll do 2 paragraphs on pathos, 2 paragraphs on message, 2 paragraphs on the author. So it depends a little bit how much analysis you're doing and how many rhetorical concepts you look at. Okay, next question. What's the best way to include all of the answers to the questions that are on the assignment? I would suggest going through and putting that in your preliminary analysis. Now, the last question on the list is how long should our preliminary analysis be? These are your notes basically on the text. So make sure that you've got those questions from the assignment written down, that you're going through and looking at the rhetoric of the text, and then you can interweave those answers to the questions throughout your paper within the paragraphs on the elements that you've looked at. You are allowed to use first person point of view. This is a fairly academic styled paper, but there is room for you to express your own ideas as far as effectiveness. So do you think the author did a good job with integrating emotion, or did it turn you off? Was it just like, leaving a bad taste in your mouth? It was too emotional. Right? Or was the author too static, too rigid, too factual, too emphasizing logos? Okay, you can add your own 2 cents a little bit as you go throughout. So you can use first person. Do try to stay academically toned throughout your paper. Okay, other questions on structure overall: introductory paragraph that ends in a thesis, several body paragraphs that look at rhetorical analysis in your analysis of the text, concluding paragraph, and then after all of that, works cited page that lists all of the outside sources you've used, including a works cited entry for the text that you analyzed. All right, thesis statements, I'm a little confused about these. Do you have any examples? This is going to vary pretty wildly depending on what text you've chosen and what rhetorical concepts you've chosen to look at. So one example of a potential thesis statement, you might say, in the article XYZ, the author does an effective job at communicating their message and presenting a clear purpose and understanding the context of the time of publication. So you'll want to make sure that in your thesis statement you potentially state the text, okay, and that you list off those items of rhetoric, those aspects of rhetoric that you intend to look at in your paper. Okay, so that's a really good question. All right. And again, when you're doing your note-taking process of going through and figuring all this out, more notes are better than fewer. Your preliminary analysis might be a handwritten slog of notes. It might be an outline that's 5 pages long. It, of course, can be shorter, right? But if you have too much, it's much easier to go through when you're writing and whittle that down into the page limit that we have for this particular assignment.